Hello, I'm Udena. My wife Shalini and I co-founded Kaley Teas about 7 years ago. Calais is located in the south of the country. As the crow flies, we're 35 kilometers from the ocean and 12 kilometers from Sri Lanka's largest rainforest and UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site, Singharaja. We are surrounded by forests and we are blessed with lots of natural springs and streams. Whilst you would expect a lot of rainfall, well, being in rainforest country, we have 4 distinct seasons. From January to April, it's hot and humid. From May to July and September to October, we have lots of rain, storms, thunder and lightning. August is dry winds, very similar to the eastern slopes of the country. November to December, it's misty, cool, with a lot of dew. This baffles many because at just 1,000 feet above sea level, we are defined as low elevation and the expectation is just sun or rain. We believe this is nature's gift to this unique location. But when we came here 7 years ago, it was a degraded land with heavy use of synthetic fertilizer, weedicide and pesticides. It was a typical conventional tea garden where forests were cleared and planted with the monoculture crop. Today, we conserve a 23-acre preserve rainforest where tall trees are flourishing. We are converting our tea land to an agroforest. We're mapping the biomass and biodiversity in each field and planting forest trees, creating forest corridors, planting fruit trees and other spices such as cinnamon and pepper amidst the tea. We are replanting tea with seeds from ancient forest tea trees. To protect soil from runoff, we grow green hedges, cover crops, build stone drains, sill pits, and collect about 20 million liters of rainwater in our man-made lake. We thatch our soils with green fertilizer that is harvested from multiple tree species and feed a liquid fertilizer made in-house using cow dung and urine. Today, we are a regenerative organic tea garden. We have commenced researching our biodiversity and are mapping soil and weather data to be transparently traceable. We sometimes get asked, why are we doing this? In the past 30 years, forests the size of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka combined have been destroyed. Sri Lanka has one of the highest rates of forest destruction in the world. Why do people cut down forests? For economic gain, right? But we strongly believe that forests, communities and economics can and should coexist in harmony. So we invest all our earnings to nurture forests and uplift communities who live and work with us. We employ about 40 people directly. We have 14 families who are resident along with about 24 kids. Our primary focus is educating the next generation. We're building Kaley Tea as a brand that is healing. Healing consumers who sip our tea, healing communities that work with us and live around us, healing forests.
Okay, so I hope that gives you a decent feel of who we are, what we do, why we do things. More importantly, one of the things that we get asked sometimes is, why did we start this? Why are we in this? There was no plan at all. I worked in corporate for 30 years in fashion. I used to fly around to many places. I used to get to New York very often. And somewhere down the road, there was this, as a kid, my father was a part-time farmer, was a weekend farmer, as we used to joke. And so somewhere there was this interest to get back into farming, bought this little property about 7 years ago. And just one thing rolled over to the other, and here we are with artisan tea. So artisan tea and conversations like this was never part of the plan. So with that, we'd like to take you through to our tea garden. To give you a quick overview, we had Buddhika, who runs Forest Hill Tea, whose teas you are available at Rakkasan, like the world's first natural tea bag. And he's sort of given an overview of Kaley Tea, of the tea garden. And one of the reasons why we get other artisan farmers to come over and talk to us and talk about us is then it's an independent, completely different view to what we present to you. So let's listen to Buddhika. Let's listen to Buddhika and his views of Kaley Tea Garden. And hopefully you'll get a feel of, the kind of stuff that we do in the tea garden.
I'm visiting Calais after 6 months, and I see everywhere the green growth. Actually, I'm really impressed with the plucking standard they are maintaining. They have even growth everywhere in the fields. So that means actually they are plucking their leaf on time. As a planter, so I did a lot of effort to get this greenness with fertilizer, artificial fertilizer, but I really get excited how Udayan is maintaining this kind of greenness without artificial fertilizer, and he is doing amazing work with using natural fertilizer. So it is absolutely appreciate and amazing work done by Team Calais. So you can see cherry husk and the other green materials on the topsoil, so the soil won't erode because of this thatching, and also it helps to actually to remain the moisture level in the soil.
මම අවුරුදු 44ක් මගේ සර්විස් එක ඒ වුණාට මම ඕගනික් වලට පළවෙනි වතාවට තමයි මේ ස්ටේට් එකේ කැලේ ටී ස්ටේට් එකේ වැඩ කරන්නේ. මට අලුත් අත්දැකීමක් මේක. හොඳ
He is Mr. Nihal. Actually, he is experienced field officer. He says about 44 years experience, and this is the first estate he's working as organic estate, fully organic estate. He is actually involved with making this organic fertilizer inside the estate and applying it regularly and get the flush buds to make good cup of tea. என்ன உங்களுக்கு வித்தியாசம் விளங்குறது இந்த தோட்டில் அந்த மற்ற தோட்டில் என்ன விளங்குற வித்தியாசம்?
இது வந்து அங்கே வந்து உரம் போடுறாங்க, இங்கே வந்து போடுறாங்க சாணி உரம். அதனால இங்கே வந்து எடுத்து கொழுந்துருக்கிறதுலாம் லேசு நல்லா பச்சையாக இருக்குது, நல்லா எடுக்க லேசாக நல்லா பறக்கிறது உடம்பு போடணும் லேசு.
She says actually she has been working for many estates, and this is the estate she's working with these organic methods, and the other estates are applying artificial fertilizer, and here of course they are using their own organic fertilizer, and she can especially see the greenness of the buds and very easy to pluck because of the flush and the maintaining very high standards plucking grounds.
So I hope with that you've got a feel of how we cultivate. There were a couple of questions that came in very early before the webinar. One was about the growing process. So as you could see, we grow from the first two clips. Our seeds come from the forest, from ancient tea trees, which are 100 plus years. The varieties are both the China variety, the China jar, as well as the Indian Assamica tea variety. And today, most of the tea seeds come from sort of hybrid between the China jar and the Indian Assamica tea saplings and tea trees. So it's a unique kind of tea seed that is unique to Sri Lanka. We're an organic cultivation, yes. We're a regenerative cultivation. So for example, we feed about 10 times more organic fertilizer than what the crop we harvest. So on a month, we harvest about 5,000 kilos of leaf, and we feed back about 50,000 liters of organic fertilizer. We're also circular, so we're building a very circular kind of economy. So the power we generate via solar, all the water we use are harvested with rainwater. We collect about 20 million liters of rainwater. So we're sort of building a self-sufficient circular economy. There was another question that came out earlier. Is there a right time to harvest? So in countries where, the 4 seasons and winter really hits, there's about 5-6 months or 7 months sometimes where tea is not harvested. But in our case, based on the climate, we actually harvest teas year round. And in fact, to get the best tea leaves, the quality of the tea leaves, we harvest in what we call very short rounds. That is 6 to 7 days. We visit the tea bush. And therefore, we pick the most recent flush or the most recent leaves, 2 leaves in a bud. There was also a question of climate variations in our area. So we're in the south of the country and we're low elevation. We're about 300 meters above sea level, so about 1,000 feet above sea level. But and this is typical, very warm part of the country. But because we're surrounded by forests and we're facing Sri Lanka's largest rainforest, the Sinharaja, and because of the typical conditions of this location, we have a number of different microclimates. We have, as I said at the start, rainy seasons about 5 to 6 months of the year. We have really dry seasons, which is now and in August, and we have other variations in between. So our teas we now make based on the season, and we don't really market based on sub seasons, but that's what we're going to do from 2022 onwards. So there was this question that came through, how climate affects our tea growing. I guess the bit I answered now hopefully answers that question. So if there are more questions, keep them rolling on. So we've given you, first of all, a feel of who we are, why we do things, and our tea garden. We'd like to now take you through our factory, or our microscale factory, handmade factory, handmade tea factory. We'll talk to you about the overall setting of how we produce our teas, but also about 5 specific teas which we will brew and taste with you. So Neethanjan was here, and he's still here with me, and he was at the factory, and we'll show you, how we produce, how we make our teas that come to you.
Hello guys, so now we are in beautiful Calais Tea Estate Artisanal Microscale Tea Factory. Once we pick the tea leaf, it's firstly come here and we sort out the tea leaf. Mainly we use 2 leaves and tea tip for our black teas, and right now Calais workers are separating the white tea tip. That's just the top tip of the plant, and I think you all know any kind of bush, any kind of a tree, best nutrition goes to this top tip, and we use this top tip as a Calais enchanting white tea. So this is what is happening here, sorting out the white tea tips. After we separate the tips out of the tea leaf, and now they are drying in a sun using Sinharaja rainforest wind, and this wind gives you really nice aroma naturally into this tea tip. Right now I'm in the withering section. So you saw how Calais tea pluckers pluck their tea leaf carefully, and once they pluck the tea leaf, it comes here, and you guys can see in this wooden wicker tray, they are just withering the leaf overnight in this place. So the most important thing is, not like normal Sri Lankan tea factories, like conventional tea factories, we have tat withering system here. So the natural wind coming through the window and then get this leaf firmly wither almost 10 to 15 hours. So after the withering, this tea leaf come to this section to do the hand rolling. This is the secret of Calais mellow black tea. And these 2 artisan tea makers right now, using wooden wicker tray, they are rolling the withered tea leaf as a small tea batches. This is very important. Using as a small tea batches, they focus in the quality, and they are just rolling the tea leaf in a wooden wicker tray to get the tea cells break and get the tea enzymes out. This will helps to get tea oxidized. So this is the secret of Calais Mellow Black Tea. Okay guys, so now we are in another section of Calais tea making. So with me I have Disanayaka and Kanti, one of the experienced Calais tea worker. So we will see what they do right now. It's very unique to Calais estate. Right now we are making small black tea balls. So you guys can see it's all shaped by hand. After we wither the tea leaf, we do gentle rolling to get it oxidized, and then by hand they're shaping the tea leaf as a small ball. We are in Calais green tea making area, and after we pick the tea leaf, not like black tea, straight away come to this area without any withering, and it goes through the steaming method to do the kill green situation. And when we do the steaming, we deactivate the oxidization enzyme, because like you saw in the black tea rolling, we roll the tea leaf to get it oxidized or fermented. But in green tea, using the heat, steaming heat, we are deactivating the oxidization enzyme. This method we call Japanese green tea method, because using Japanese method, we are steaming the tea leaf. Japanese method gives you very vegetal, umami, CBD, oceany flavor into the tea. So after the steaming, here what we are seeing that steamed tea leaf straight away come to the wok roasting method. Actually this is two separate methods, especially the steaming method done by Japanese people and the wok roasting method done in China. But the most interesting thing is in Calais estate, they combine two methods. After the steaming process, it comes to the wok and do the wok roasting method, which combine the two flavor profiles. The steaming vegetal oceany flavor comes into the wok and then get the burnt toffee caramel smokiness into it, gives really beautiful balanced green tea. That is the specialty of Calais green tea. Actually natural material used for this equipment, and it's a very simple equipment, but using that equipment, what Calais do right here, making their smoke teas. And I think we saw they're feeding the firewood burner with cinnamon leaves, and I can smell the cinnamon smoke really nicely here. So they put the tea leaf into this small drying section with the smoke. Oh wow, what a smell. And I can smell the tea combined with cinnamon leaf smell, really beautiful. And this is the way Calais make their smoke black tea. So now we are in Calais Wangedi processing area. So when you are talking about Wangedi Pico tea, one of the Sri Lankan traditional black tea, and you guys can see this style right now. I think you already saw how we do the hand rolling. So right now in Calais we can see how we make Sri Lankan traditional pounded black tea. So let me explain you why we call it as a Wangedi Pico black tea. So you guys can see this stone mortar, in local language we call it Wangediya. So earlier people used this mortar and pestle to pound flour and lot of kitchen stuff. Like this is a traditional kitchen equipment, Sri Lankan traditional kitchen equipment. Right now we are using this stone mortar and the pestle, pound the tea leaf as a small tea batches to get the flavor out and get it oxidized. So because of the pounding, you can, I wish you can feel the aroma here. It gets very nicely crushed and gets stronger flavor out of it. So this is what we call Wangedi Pico style for the black tea, one of the Sri Lankan traditional style. And Calais use this method to do their lot of tea grades.
So we use this method to make a signature tea of ours and one of our best sellers, which is called Rebel's Tea by Mama D. Now why I have this man Disanayaka who's with me is because the tea is made based on a recipe that his mother made. It's during the 1988-89 period. Sri Lanka had what we call a very dark period where we had a war in the north and we had a rebellion in the south. And during this rebellion, the tea factories, some of the tea factories were closed, tea was not available easily, and his mother used to pluck tea from the garden and pound it in a stone and using a stone mortar like this and make tea for them. So we use the same recipe. In fact, he brought the same recipe, and we made this tea exactly according to that recipe. So we call it Rebel's Tea because it was made during the rebellion by Mama D.
Okay, so I hope with that we've got a good feel of who we are, what we do, why we do things, how we grow our tea amidst a forest setting, organically, regeneratively, with other crops, which really add to the flavor, and also how we manufacture our teas. There's, as folklore has it, there's another twist to hand roll teas. Folklore has it that you hand roll teas with the healing palms of our artisans. So there is belief and faith in this part of the world that the palms have a healing effect on whatever we use it for. Our teas are made in very small batches, on average about 1 kilo at a time. They're made and packed within 24 hours of the leaves leaving the tea bush. And as we'd like to say, Kaley Tea captures the best, the healing goodness of nature and its flavors. One of the things I'd like to say is all these clips, the camera work, everything's done on phone. It's done by us farmers. We don't have any, expertise around it. The editing is us using, bits and pieces of free software around. So this is all farmers trying to become amateur filmmakers. So I hope we've managed to capture our story adequately well. There is one question: how long do the dry teas keep in the canister? Is there a best by date? Oh, for sure, there's a best by date. So the first thing is, in our teas, we say, typically the white teas, because they absorb moisture. So tea is hygroscopic, so tea absorbs moisture. In fact, tea absorbs anything around. So if you have spices, the tea will absorb it. If you have, flowers and fruits, tea will absorb it. If you have mango, tea will absorb it. Put a few slices of mango in black tea, and you'll feel tea absorbing the flavor. So typically, white tea is between 1 year and 2 years. Black tea is between 2 and 3 years. So that's sort of general time period. But always check expiry dates before you use tea, because except for certain teas like pu'er, which gets better with age, like wine. But most teas have an expiry date. We've got a comment saying we do a good job in our filming. Thank you very much. Do you have any insect or animal issues with the crops? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But we believe so. In certain parts, which is close to the forest, we get hit by termites. We do nothing about it because we believe the natural cycle will take its course. During misty periods, late November, early December, it's not really insect, but there is what is called blister blight. Blister sort of burns the leaf because early morning dew and then hot sun in the afternoon. Different tea estates get hit by different insects. But what we realize is we've been on this organic journey for about 6 years now. This is our 6th year. And with time, nature finds its own ways of dealing with insects. So we don't really have to use any pesticide or weedicide. We, of course, use what is now called in the world biopesticides. So we grow certain kinds of flowers which help, lemongrass, which help keep insects away. And we've also started researching and learning about local herbs and plants that help keep pests away. So what we've realized is there's a lot of natural plants that help in this process. It's about how much knowledge we have about these plants and how to grow them amidst the rest of the cultivation. It's a very interesting question. How did you and Brandon get connected to each other? I'll tell you my part of the story, and Brandon can tell his. Well, when we started, so we're farmers, right? We're not marketers. We started just, it was a blind date. We just wrote, and Brandon was one of them who responded. And fortunately, Brandon was also buying tea from 2 other artisan farmers in the country. So there was some credibility. And I'd like to think we really hit it off after the first blind date, but that's how it started, and it worked through. So we sort of connect with each other, and I think the ethos really matches, because from where Brandon sources the teas and our background in, historically, Sri Lanka has been invaded by first the Portuguese in 1505, then the Dutch, then the British. There's been Indian invasions from South India, all sorts of stuff. And the simple reason is we're right at the, if you look at India as a V, we're right at the bottom of India, right? And the sea route connects the east to the west. And we were very rich in gems, very rich in spices. So everybody thought, we're a good place to stop over and pick a few things on the way. And then we've had wars. A war in the north of the country for 30 years. We've had 2 rebellions in the south of the country. And we've gone through our share of, I'd say, struggles and fun. So our ethos and our work ethics really connect. And I'll leave Brandon to share his thoughts a little later on. Okay, so that's about sort of introductions. We'd like to now go straight into brewing teas and taking you through the tasting. We've got 5 teas. We've got the Singharaja green and black. We've got a white tea, which is really a specialty because it's become one of our best sellers. We've got the black pearl, which you saw being made, and we have a lapsang. So Neethanjan from Amba Estate, who also supplies to Rakkasan, is going to join me. He's been around, handling the technology up to now, and we're going to share our thoughts about our teas. I will be biased, obviously, but please feel free to share your thoughts. So just give me a moment to cross over to the tasting table and join you with our teas. Okay, so I hope we're coming through good. We're now live. There's no more recording. So we've got 5 teas laid out here for you. We've got the white tea on this side. So these are made from the buds. So the way we've laid out white tea, green tea, and 3 black teas. That's the black pearl. That's our mellow black tea. That's the Singharaja black. And this is our lapsang suture. The way we've laid this out is first we have the dry leaf out here. Then we have the wet leaf that is after brewing. And then we have the teas in these little teapots, these dainty little teapots. And we have our tasting cups out here. And hopefully it'll give you a flavor of, a view of the different colors of our teas. So the white teas, look a little yellowish golden, very light golden here. The green tea is a very, very light, mild green color. As we move on to the black pearl, this is something between an oolong and a black. It's got a bit of puer as well, because if you look at the tea itself, the tea ball, the insides are and the outsides dry and oxidized differently, so bringing out different flavors. And then as we move to the blacks and the lapsang, again, the color changes in the Singharaja black to a real golden, copper golden color, and the lapsang has a bit of an oolongish type of color, but it's really in the taste and the aroma that it's different. So I am now going to ask Neethanjan, who's been backstage all this time, to kick off the tasting.
Hello guys, and good morning from Sri Lanka. And so, yes, thank you, Dana. And we've done a really wonderful, actually, introduction about Calais Tea Estate. And right now, I'm going to start with the white tea from the beginning. And I think Udayan already explained about how it's look like. And to me, one of the really, really beautiful look of this white tea. So you can see it's very wiry and big, longer buds, which grown in southern area in Sri Lanka, which is very amazing. And after we see the dry form, it has a little bit of silver line in the black shade type of appearance. And after the dry leaf, it comes to the wet leaf, like Udena says, it's slightly, I think, Udena fermented, slightly oxidized, I think, with the little brownish touch.
Yeah.
And then beautifully, we can see the color of the white tea, see-through, crystal clear, gold color, really, really beautiful color. And it's see-through, crystal clear, gold color. And smell-wise, I smell really beautiful mellow honey and floral note into my nose, and I'm going for a sip right now. Really beautiful. It has very sweet honey, floral, and mellow and fruity flavor to me, and it have very strong body. Normally white tea have very floral smoothness, but this white especially, I feel it have very strong body. What do you think about that, Udayan?
Yeah, for me, it's really the fruit and the flowers that come out. It's really amazing. You know, we think of tea giving a particular flavor, but you know, this tea brings out a lot of you know, it's a bit like a natural juice.
Exactly.
There's fruits and flowers, and there's a honeybee touch to the end.
Exactly.
A bee honey touch to the end.
And even most of the tasters normally like tell white tea is like a flavored water.
Yeah.
But this is a bit beyond that. I can get that strongness and the body of the white tea very nicely in this Calais white tea.
Neethanjan, someone from the other side might ask us, why do we slurp when we taste?
Exactly.
Would you like to share your thoughts?
Yes. To be honest, like when we do the professional tea tasting, we are not drinking the tea. And first of all, we are like sipping it, and we try to slurp the tea very quickly into our tongue and spread the tea taste around the tongue with oxygen to feel the flavor. And after we feel the flavor, we spit it out. I'll give you a really good example on that. Especially, imagine you are eating chocolate, and we like chocolate. So when we are eating chocolate, when we swallow it, and we know we had it, but when we spit it out, our brain knows we don't had it. So we are ready for the next taste. I think it's not fulfilling you, which is very important. That's why in professional tasting, what we do, we get the tea and then we sip it like this and feel the flavor and spit it out.
The other aspect is also that you know, when you suck it in with pressure, it really envelops all your taste buds. And you feel this flavor wrapping around your mouth. It gives you a full mouth feel. So we being a little indecent, a little uncivilized, and slurp around, but that's how it goes when you taste teas. So from that, we'd like to get to our green tea. This is the Singharaja green. A good green tea, first of all, must have greenness in the dry leaf. Now, having said that, if we were to only steam this leaf, it'll be greener.
Exactly.
But if teas are pan-fried, those especially that come from China, have a greater blackish touch, because, as you could understand, in the pan-frying process, it's constant heat working with the leaf. But as you brew onto the wet leaf, it gives a pure, you know, very beautiful, soft green touch.
So you can easily indicate that it's not clearly fermented or oxidized.
Yeah. So the difference between a black tea and a green tea is unoxidized. You do not let the polyphenol oxidase in the tea react with the oxygen, and therefore it captures all those flavors inside, which gives this view, supported partly by research and a lot of myth and belief that green tea is healthier than black tea. But in essence, black tea also captures a lot of the healthy goodness of teas. So with that, I'd like to ask Neethanjan to go for a taste. Remember, this tea is both steamed and pan-fried.
I can clearly feel that, Udena. Especially, I can get the little bit of oceany touch into it. First of all, when I sip it, and then it around my mouth, it will have a really nice body, heavy body into the green tea. And also, I can feel little bit of floral, sweet fruitiness, bit unusual for steamed and pan-fried green tea, and that gives me really, really nice feeling in my mouth, especially for this taste. And the sweet, fruity floralness with little bit of oceaniness. That's what I feel.
So there's a bit of history to this tea. We've been making green tea for a while, and about 6 months ago, we were very fortunate to work with a group of 4th, 5th generation Japanese green tea makers, and they helped us improve our green tea substantially. Now, one of the things that happens is if a typical steamed green tea has the flavor profile is, some call it oceanic, some call it, vegetal, spinachy, and the pan-fried green teas are sort of has a bit of a buttery, roasted kind of flavor, correct?
Yes, exactly.
But
like roasted burnt toffee, caramelly.
Exactly, caramelly flavor. Now, one of the things we were working on is, my wife never drank green tea. Actually, she wasn't a tea drinker, she was a coffee drinker. So my goal was to try and convert her into a tea drinker. And I come from a background of drinking just tea. So today, her afternoon is not coffee, her evening is not coffee, her nightcap is not coffee, it's tea. And I naturally, obviously, I'm the tea maker in the house. So we wanted to make a green tea that is sweet, that cuts all the bitterness away. And our work went into making a light green tea that is flavorful, that captures the goodness of green tea, but is also has a sweeter touch to it. And that's how years of work was aimed at producing a tea like that. So with that, we'd now like to go to our third tea, which is our Black Pearl, which you saw being made in the factory, which is this circular little balls. This is one of Neethanjan's favorites. So I'm going to ask Neethanjan to talk about it and talk you through that.
So this is one of the very wonderful creation of actually Calais Estate. This black tea pearl rolled, first of all, they wither the tea leaf and then they rolled in a hand to get the enzymes out, and then they press it as a ball. So especially this tea have very, very unique character because out layer of this pearl actually oxidized and middle part of this pearl get fermented. So because of that, it gives an oxidization fermentation. Oxidization work with oxygen. Fermentation means work with actually its heat inside heated and then start the fermentation. And because of that two different method, this gives little bit of oolongish touch and floral sweetness into the black tea, and also can feel honey melon note as a finishing end. So this is very, very smooth floral black tea. And once we put the tea ball into the tea cup, this is also really interesting because this we can use as a one portion. So nowadays, most people use tea bags. I think tea bags are really, I hope you already know most of the tea bags in the tea world, cheap tea bag, what I'm talking, and made out of plastic or nylon mix or also dust included. So this portion you can use as a one portion of the tea cup, and it's pure natural tea leaf. And other important thing is once you put in the cup, it opens up really nicely, and we can see here it's very well fermented and oxidized. Middle part is darker color and outlay have a greenish touch with brown shade, and this is really beautiful, and I can smell a very nice floral honey note into it. And after we come to the liquor color, it has see-through crystal clear, softer like honey copper color, which is again really wonderful. And I think I will go for the tasting, and after we see the liquor color and tasting wise, we'll go for the tasting. And it have the floralness and the floral touch with the honey, strong medium type of honey, and then followed with fruity and sweet note, and to me like drinking honey. It's really, really, really beautiful tea. and it's really nice. And especially, guys, don't use any milk or sugar with this type of good black teas. I always tell my customers and always tell our fellow tea tasters, when you're using milk and sugar with tea, it's like you're having world's best wine with Coca-Cola. So no suggestions for milk and sugar with this type of softer teas. Okay, then.
Okay. So we've got about 9 minutes to go, so we'll try and move through the other two teas quite quickly. But before that, one of the things is that, tea brewing is for you to enjoy. For us, brewing is an experience. It's a very meditative process. And so is sipping our teas. And there are different ways of brewing. The Western style is, you put 2 grams, you brew for 3 minutes. The Gong Fu Chinese style is, more leaf, 5 grams, 7 grams, 10 grams, and you brew for seconds. But whichever style you adopt, all our teas, you could brew a minimum 3 times. I brew some of our teas 5 times during the day. And the flavor changes with time. Earlier on, someone had asked the question, what happens if my tea goes cold? I brewed it and it's gone cold. Well, I grew up on a tea drinking culture of you sip the tea hot, not warm, but hot, burning hot. That's what my mom used to do. But we've now got used to enjoying the flavors even as the tea cools down, because as the heat goes away, you start feeling different flavors. And all our teas can be cold brewed as well. So it's an experience of how you would like to taste. And I would suggest you keep brewing your own way until you say, this is mine. This is no one else's standard brewing method. Neethanjan, to the black and the lapsang.
Okay.
Quickly.
So quickly, we'll go for the black tea and mellow black tea. What Calais do here? It's first of all, when you come to the dry part of the tea, leaf appearance, you can see really nice blackish wiry twist into it. And it's all done by hand. I think you already saw how we do the hand rolling as a small tea batches. And we use 2 leaves and bud here and then twisted very well. And after we come to the wet form of the leaf, we can see all the 2 leaves and buds opens up and nicely firmly fermented and oxidized. And you can see the brown, really nice brown color, well oxidized. And then we come to the liquor color. And especially cup color, we can see compared to black pearl, it have reddish, see-through reddish coppery gold color, and which is really, really interesting and has strong body of the tea. That's what I can feel through the liquor color. But we will go for the tasting quickly, and then it is really, really nice. It has this strong mellow and also strong kind of like ruhunu flavor to me. Ruhunu flavor followed with sweetness. It is very unique to this black tea, Udayana, because normally when we tasting typical ruhunu tea, you can get very strong, sharp body. But this one have this strong hint, but followed with floral sweetness. How you do that?
Yeah, so Runa is the south. It's a local colloquial local term for the south. So the southern teas are considered, southern low elevation teas are considered to be very, very strong. But because the uniqueness of this terroir, it gives the way we make it, it's a mellower, it's a toned down version of that very strong tea, but it brings a touch of sweetness also. So it's just to do with the terroir. And I'd like to quickly take you through the last tea, which is a lapsang, which when you look at the dry leaf, you get more coppery color than compared to the black, to the mellow black. So it's made exactly in the same way of the black tea, but it's smoked during the process. So you can make smoked teas in many ways. You can make the black tea and smoke it, but we smoke it in the process, and we smoke it with cinnamon. And the beauty of this tea is you can use it as a snack as well. So it's very crunchy, and you can just keep munching it as you move on. So again, when you look at the mellow black and the lapsang, you can see differences in the color of the wet leaf, and you can see differences in the color of the tea as well. I've kept the two together. So this is the mellow black, and that's the lapsang. And you see that in the cup as well. Neethanjan, if you just quickly have a go at the tea and taste it.
So I will go for the lapsang right now. it's amazing the way it changes, and that the sweetness and the floralness of the black tea and comes to give that smoky hint into it and kind of like take over and last part of the taste bud and as a smoke round flavor. So this is really beautiful there, and I can feel the little bit of hint of cinnamon there, and I think it is really nice tea. And if you're a fan of smoke tea, I highly recommend this Lapson Shushang what they done here. It's hand rolled black tea and cinnamon leaf smoked, and which is really beautiful taste profile.
Okay, so that brings us really towards the end of the session. We have a couple of questions, Neethanjan, if you can have a look. There were a couple of questions which came earlier. One was about, what are the health benefits of tea? Tea is one of the highest consumable products with the highest level of antioxidants, 0 sodium, 0 cholesterol, 0 fats, and 0 calories. It's said to be a cleanser. It's said to give alertness because tea has caffeine, right? But a much lower percentage than coffee. It helps concentration, memory, learning, skin health, hair health, gum health, some weight management, bone strength, diabetes, heart health, and some cancers. And some of this is, people believe some of it is myth, but there's tons of research papers that come from good universities, lots of white papers even on the net.
And one person asked today, which tea is was it that was raw and fermented, and for the evening? Thank you.
Which tea? Okay, so there's a question. Which tea was raw and fermented? So that's the Ceylon Black Pearl. The little, circular little teas of ours is what was rolled and fermented. I'd say semi-fermented, semi-oxidized. There was another question earlier about food pairing. There are sort of standards around of how do you pair which tea with which food. The white teas generally go with sort of crunchy fruits, the blacks with, creamy, chocolatey, buttery stuff, buttery sweet food. The green teas are very good to cut the oil and spices. So with Asian food, Chinese or Indian food. And that's sort of a very broad way of describing how to pair which food with which tea. But I'd say, experiment, keep trying, because it's food, and ultimately we have food for healthy reasons and we have food for flavor. And our Calais Tea statement is that Calais Tea captures the healing goodness and flavors of nature. And our statement around sipping tea is, we say, we have this little piece we've written, say, sip your Calais Tea slowly, without rushing into some unknown distant future, reverently, as if the whole world revolves around that single cup. Stay in this moment, and let the aroma and harmonious bouquet of natural flavors charm your senses. So that's the way we'd like to brew. I brew tea and sip tea.
So a lot of other lovely comments, and just thanking, and also wanted to get a lot of people wanted to get your black tea pearl and the Lapson Shushong, and it's really interesting. Thank you again for everybody putting all these nice comments. And then yes,
yeah, I think our time is up. We're right on the hour, so we'd like to close the session with that. And before we go, Brandon, closing comments from you.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for doing this. I think this is really great. I think everybody enjoyed it. Just a couple of administrative notes. If your question was not answered, you can always email me at bf@rakkasanttea.com, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Just in case anybody is interested, we have in stock right now the Senadheera Black and the Senadheera Green. They're on the website. If you'd like to order them, please do. And then the only other thing I've got is the Udina. We got to get some of that lapsang. I've been waiting for it. We're really excited to do that. We will carry the lapsang, and then we'll talk about the others. But yeah, I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate everybody taking an hour out of your evening to come and ask questions and listen. We're going to do this, you know, Neethanjan is there helping, but he's also the maker of all the Amba teas. So if you've had our Amba teas, he makes those. So we will try to do this again at his farm at some point here in the near future, and hope everybody comes back for that. Is there anything, my business partner, TK is on here. Is there anything that I have forgotten or that anybody else has that we should talk about briefly before we go? All right, I guess that is it. Udina, I'll throw it back over to you, but this is great. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brandon. We really enjoyed. Hope you guys, got a better feel of us, and therefore, the teas you drink and the teas you enjoy. Thank you very much for the time. Hope you guys have a very good evening. The birds are out again, and we're going to enjoy the rest of the day here. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Everybody.